big news out of the 2024 class is Jadyn Davis picking Michigan. The 5-star bumps the Wolverines class ranking to 3rd, and fans of the Maize and Blue hope that this is only the start of what's to come, and this is only the start of what's about to be a great show today, and that is because our next guest joins us now. It's Sam Webb of the Michigan Insider. Sam, Wolverine fans still buzzing about this, so I'm going to ask you to just put it into words. What does landing Jadyn Davis mean to Michigan football?
It's a titanic land for Michigan, Emily. They went in the last cycle without getting their marquee quarterback target. They really went hard after Dante Moore and put all their eggs in that basket. I don't think they necessarily took the same tack. I think if things had gone out much longer with Jadyn Davis, that they would have widened the net. But I think they were pretty confident with where they were with him. The only reason why it went as long as it did, because there was uncertainty with Michigan. You had Jim Harbaugh looking at going to the Broncos, right? Then his quarterback coach got fired. But once all of that got cleared up, he came back to campus, met the new quarterback coach. It was all academic from there. He reaffirmed his commitment, which he actually made back in November, kept it silent until now. Now the recruiting effort that he was putting forth behind the scenes, he could bring to the fore and do it publicly. And I think that's why you got a lot of fans, not just the fans. I mean, you could sense it emanating from Ann Arbor that they're confident that this is the start of a domino effect in their 2024 recruiting class.
And Sam, this commitment obviously came the day before Michigan's spring game, which meant that there were a number of top prospects and top recruits also in the house to check out the Wolverines. What kind of buzz have you heard or reaction from recruits about Jadyn Davis putting on that Maize and Blue baseball cap?
Yeah, you had another couple of big-time prospects, like literally on campus, and Andrew Sprague and Peter Warren, right? Sprague was the one that I put in a crystal ball for, and I don't do that lightly. I mean, anyone who follows me knows that I'm very judicious with the crystal balls. I got to feel like it's going to take a lot to swing the pendulum the other way. It's not just a sign of who has the lead, which is how some guys do it. No right way, but it's my way. I feel really good about where Michigan stands with Andrew Sprague now. I think it was his 4th visit to campus. You could sense that his relationship with Sharon Moore is growing stronger by the day. They're 2-time Joe Moore award-winning line. That seems to be resonating with a lot of guys. And, to get Bennett Warren to come out of that visit talking about Michigan is the #1 school on his list. Blair, I feel like as domino effects go for the class, I think that the domino effect for the offensive line position in particular is what's going to drive it. Because I think they're out front for Sprague in a really, really clear way. Warren seems to be a little farther away from making his decision, but they're #1 with him. I got Michigan out front with Blake Frazier, who's from down there in Texas as well. He was on campus the same time as Jadyn Davis. He's a legacy. His dad played on the '97 championship team. And, you look around, another kid from down in Texas, Max Anderson, another 4-star offensive lineman that many of us think Michigan is leading for. So you could really kind of see, even if Michigan doesn't go to one of those guys and say, hey, you know what, we need to hear an answer. When they start to see other guys making their decisions, the circumstance has a way of kind of applying some pressure. And I think that's the kind of thing that can lead to the kind of domino effect that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about it right now. I mean, getting that headline quarterback means that you now have the face of the class. So how much do you think that the staff is now relying on Davis maybe to play a little bit of a recruiter in order to continue to build this class?
It's a great question, Emily. And I think that, all of these coaches look for a player in their class or some players in their class to be recruiters. Just like when you're coaching a team, a coach can't always be the coach. He needs a coach on the field. But you're the same thing in recruiting. You need a recruiter in the class. Always best when that guy is your quarterback. Natural leader. And when that quarterback is an ardent recruiter, is a willing recruiter, is an eager recruiter, it makes it even better. He's taking his cues from J.J. McCarthy, who did the same thing. I mean, J.J. McCarthy kept that 21 recruiting class together. I mean, if J.J. McCarthy doesn't affirm his commitment, if he doesn't organize visits, if he doesn't tell Donovan Edwards, I'm coming, that class probably doesn't become what it became. Jadyn Davis I think seeing that, J.J. McCarthy being a friend of his, he can see and feel the kind of impact that he could have on this recruiting class. Why he's been doing recruiting behind the scenes already. Now that it's out front, I mean, the guy has big dreams. He said he's going to go after Buckeye commits now too. So
Ooh.
Look for a story on that, as he's really looking to take it to another level.
He's really leaning into this. I'm all for it. I love the recruiting battles between Ohio State and Michigan. I'm sure all the fan bases are going to be tuning into that. I want to go back to Bennett Warren, Sam. You mentioned him as possibly number one right now for Michigan. He was another top target that made it to the Big House, the number 5 ranked offensive tackle in the country. What have you been able to gather about his visit and where the Wolverines sit in this contested battle?
Well, he came out of the visit, Blair, saying that Michigan was number one. Now, look, you always got to keep the immediate visit reactions in perspective, right? It could be that you're fresh off the visit, you're still that visit glow is still kind of in effect. And so there may be some of that, but, it's hard to not see a pattern forming here where all the guys are coming out of these visits saying the same thing. And look, he's a Texas kid that visited Michigan for a spring game on a day that was very not spring-like. I mean, it was like 35 degrees. It was wet. The rain was pouring. I mean, it was not a great day. And so for him to come out of the game, and it's not like Michigan played a lot of there. A lot of guys sat. So for him to come out of the weekend saying Michigan is number one, and for that to basically mimic what we've heard a lot of guys, especially the linemen, coming out of visit saying, kind of leads you to believe there's a little more to it. So if you're Michigan, you got to be really confident what you have to sell. Sharon Moore is one of the best recruiters on the staff, one of the best recruiters in the country, right? And he's the offensive line coach. And then you have a couple of line commits in the class. And like I said, there's that circumstantial pressure that's applied. When you look at the class, you see 2 linemen in it. If you're one of those guys that they're recruiting, you got to ask yourself, how many linemen are they going to take? If they take 5, I mean, someone's still left out. If they take 6, which I don't think they will, but someone's still left out. So you got to start doing the calculus in your head, figuring out, is that spot still going to be there if I wait? I think that's what Michigan, and I don't think they're pushing guys, but I think the circumstance has a way of kind of speeding guys up, and I think that's what we're going to see happen.
I mean, along those lines, we talk about these quarterback dominoes all the time, but we rarely talk about the offensive line dominoes. And as you mentioned, Andrew Sprague, too, taking in Michigan's spring game, and you put in that crystal ball for him. But my question is more, I mean, how much do you anticipate the recruitments of both Warren, who we just talked about, and Sprague kind of impacting each other's decision?
Yeah, I think not just those two. They could impact one another. It's hard for me to say that a relationship or bond is really formed between those two. They kind of are just getting around one another. But I think you look around at the slots in the class, and I think that more than anything else has a way of affecting the other guys. Now, to your point, though, I think the guys in the class, so, your Luke Hamilton, for instance, your Ben Roebuck, guys who are in the class who are trying to recruit other guys to the class, Bennett Warren did mention that. He mentioned that, I really kind of found myself connecting with guys who are already in the class. So I think that could have an impact. But at the end of the day, you get the class starting to feel some camaraderie. You get some momentum going in the recruiting class where the numbers start to build. I think they're going to come out of the next, let's say, 4 or 5, how much longer does spring go? 5, 6 weeks? They're going to come out of the next 5 or 6 weeks with at least 3 commitments, I think. And could get as many as 5 or 6 more before we get into the summer.
Jadyn Davis is now in the fold. Emily and I can finally put down our pitchforks and applaud Jim Harbaugh for landing a quarterback. So, Sam, who do you shift your focus to now as the possible next commitment for Michigan?
So if I had to guess, if I had to put a gut feeling on it, I would say Andrew Sprague would be the next guy. If it's not Andrew Sprague, I would look at one of Jadyn Davis's teammates in Channing Goodwin, the top 247 receiver out of Providence Day. He is a Michigan legacy. His dad, Jonathan Goodwin, played at Michigan. I know him very, very well from my days at Michigan with him. He played for Jim Harbaugh with the San Francisco 49ers. That was after he won a Super Bowl with the New Orleans Saints. His uncle played at Michigan as well, Harold Goodwin, who's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Michigan courses through this guy's veins. Now, he's made it his mission to look around, and I think he has a couple more visits in store. We got a story coming up with him, as a matter of fact. But now his quarterback is committed to Michigan, too. I mean, there are other good candidates. I think Michigan is in really, really strong with Aaron Childs, the top 247 linebacker out of good counsel over in Maryland, for instance. But those would be the two that I would sort of jockey between: Andrew Sprague, Channing Goodwin. Now, could someone else jump up and beat them to the punch because of the momentum in Michigan recruiting right now? Sure, but one of those guys would be my bet for the next guy in the fold.
Sounds like a lot of excitement and more exciting things to come. Blair, I don't want to be roped into the whole pitchfork thing. I'm a big believer in if it ain't broke, and it seems to be working all right in Michigan, but very exciting for them to land that top quarterback prospect, and very exciting for us to have you on the show, Sam. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Be sure to check out the Michigan Insider for all things Michigan. I will be refreshing my page, waiting for that story that Sam talked about of Jadyn Davis, leaning into that Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. Excited to read that. So be sure to check out themichiganinsider.com.